Greetings friends and fellow cigar box guitar enthusiasts. Del Puckett here, and it is hot. I have the door open, one fan, two fans, three fans, all blowing. This one here is a clock, and on that clock there is a temperature gauge. I want to show you what it says. All right, zooming in, you can see the temperature is 90 plus. So yeah, so we are roasting here in sunny San Ysidro. Yay. All right, so let's get started. It is hot. These are the records here we got going on. So because it's so hot, I'm gonna leave the fan on, both of them, actually all three of them, and that little cricket. He thinks because he's paying rent that he can just chime anytime. I'm calling this video how to build a cigar box guitar from start to finish. It is going to be an overview, but it's also going to be very detailed. And I'm going to divide this video into two sections. The first section is going to be actually it's going to be a challenge. I'm going to in just a little bit here in the future of this video here, I'm going to ask you to pause the video if you want to. If you want to participate, you might want to just pause the video and grab a piece of paper and a pencil and stuff like that. We're just going to make some lists. But I think you would benefit if you actually participated in this challenge. Okay, so that being said, the first part is that. The second part is actually I'm going to walk you through a build, kind of rapid fire, and we're just going to talk it through, and we're going to hit on the highlights. Just kind of like I said, an overview. Building a cigar box guitar from 30,000 feet. I did want to point out I got holes in my shirt. My gosh, it just all of a sudden one day it's like, it's my holy shirt. All right, so I have notes and a pencil. Now, if you are opting out of participating in this challenge, then I would suggest maybe perhaps bookmarking this video so that you can reference it in the future, because like I said, I'm going to do a lot. There's going to be a lot of information here in this overview. But for those of you who are participating and you've got your pencil and your paper, I'm going to add. We're going to do a couple lists here, and I'll bullet some of these highlights here and stuff like that, and write them down. It's going to be a great, like I said, checklist for the future, or just something to keep in mind as we are proceeding with building a cigar box guitar from start to finish. So I actually had these listed here, but I think I'm going to go in not reverse order, but I want to start with the ideas section. So ideas. So you're going to have to be creative and exercise your creative judgment and stuff like that. There's tons and tons of possibilities. Like there's tons and tons of styles of boxes. There's materials are like, it's infinite. It's basically infinite, the things that you can do. All right, so we need to kind of enter this whole thing with a little bit of an end goal, a vision, so to speak, of the end product, and keeping in mind what's important. What's important to you? Is it going to be a work of art, or is it going to be a recordable, giggable, tourable, inspirational, a true instrument, or is it going to be both? Or is it going to be neither? Okay, so that's what I'm saying. You got to kind of enter into this thing kind of a little bit on the heads up mentally. And we're also going to keep in mind things like design and aesthetic. A lot of times I like to use those the Fibonacci golden ratio stuff. I mean, you can get all nerdy and all geeky. But typical things like box sizes, box styles. Is it a cardboard box? Blah blah blah. Okay, so that'll be the second. The third will be the materials list. That'll be number 3. Number 4 is the actual layout. Guys, that is so important. And then the last part of this video, the last half of this video, we are going to do a walkthrough, kind of like an overview from 30,000 feet. Just a quick build. I'll just walk you through. So, starting off with the ideas section. Okay, do you see your box as being old and distressed, or new and shiny. Okay, number one. Number two, are you gonna paint it? You're gonna stain it? Are you gonna sand it? You're gonna shellac it? You're gonna burn it with a fire? Excuse me. Seriously, there's tons and tons of possibilities. It's kind of good to kind of go in with it with a some sort of vision, some sort of mental understanding of what you're gonna do. Number one. So the next thing is the design. Okay, there's things that are important. Scale length. Is it going to have a traditional headstock or a scarf joint headstock? Hope you're taking notes. Are you going to go through the body, the box, out the back end, or are you going to stop inside the box, boom, butt it up on the inside? So that's going to determine how big of a piece of neckwood that you need. Is it going to be acoustic or electric? And if it's going to be electric, what style of pickups? There's single coils, kind of give you that Stevie Ray Vaughan kind of a bluesy sound, or a humbucker, which is going to give you more of an aggressive, more of a thicker, heavier rock sound. Are you going to want the pickup to be in the neck position or in the bridge position? Because these things matter. Are you going to have a switch that switches between your pickups? Are you going to combine your pickups with a piezo? And a piezo is another option. That's more of a vibration, more of an acoustic sound, and I like them all. I don't have a preference. Whenever you pick up the instrument and you start playing around with, you kind of can tell what kind of a pickup it is. It's going to inspire you to play a certain way. So I recommend all of them eventually, But right now, pick out what's important to you and just stick with that. Yeah. So there's so many things that are important. Okay, the style of sound holes, F holes, large holes, screen mesh, whatever. It's been my experience, my observation, that the sound holes really don't matter that much. It's just my opinion, and I'm not the world's best listener. I'm sure if I listen maybe better, I could probably tell a little bit, but most of the time I'm playing with an amp anyway, and it's like so the sound holes really don't matter. But dude, you cannot beat a classy F hole. Oh my gosh, they're just, especially when they're done right, done nice, they're nice and smooth and curvy and stuff. So is your guitar going to have a gold theme, silver theme, rusty old theme, a black theme? There's guitars out there that have a theme to them, and oh my gosh, dude, some of those are some of the most amazing instruments. So you gotta go with your gut. All right, let's talk about the materials. So typically, when I write down this thing, I'm starting at one end of the instrument and I'm working my way through to the other side of the instrument, just so I can take notes. So up here, the hook. You're gonna have a hook? No, you don't need a hook, but you definitely need tuners, right? So tuners, and they come in all different styles, all different shapes. You got the nice upgradeds, you get the old vintage style, you get the economy. These economies are actually pretty good. They work really good. Fret wire. Pickups. Humbuckers or single coils, piezos. Obviously the box. You're going to have a switch. You can have more than one pickup and you'll need a switch. And then a volume control knob. And then, of course, the jack. First, you can plug this bad boy in. A hinge. Sound holes. Again. What style of sound hole? You're gonna have these kind, you get these kind. And then, of course, a volume control knob. Those are all sold separately. That's not even talking about the tools. The tools, obviously you're going to need some sort of saw to cut things out. I use these the fretting saw from CBGT. Sandpaper, the good old trusty Shinto rasp. Yeah, these things are awesome. Steel wool, if you're going to need some steel wool. Definitely sandpaper. For those of you who are taking notes, I forgot to mention in the materials that we're going to need a fretting template. You can either make your own by tracing your favorite guitar, or you can actually buy these at cbgitty.com. You're also going to need a meter stick or a yardstick. In this case, you have a metal ruler, and obviously your neck wood. So that takes us to this section here, and this section here is the dry layout, or the layout. Guys, I cannot stress the importance of this section right here. This is the most important section in this video in regards to building a cigar box guitar from beginning to the end. So we've already got our ideas, we've got our design, we've got it all mapped out, thought out, we've got all of our materials and our tools. So now we are going to do the dry layout. Now, some people build like they're holding the instrument. That would be backwards for me. The way I build it is I build like I'm looking at somebody else playing the instrument. In other words, the box opens this side here, the neck's going to pop out this side over here. So it would be like I'm watching somebody play this. Does that make sense? I've tried to build them the other way, but for some reason it's backwards. Sometimes you have to, out of necessity, build them the other way around. But for the majority of my thinking process, I build the guitar from the back of the guitar, the butt, the string end, on my left. I don't know if that makes sense or not. But I do the same thing over and over and over again, so after a while you're going to get really good at it. So we're gonna dry lay this out. It all starts with the fretting template, which is the scale length of the instrument. This one here is a 23-inch scale template. That means it's 23 inches from the nut, or the 0 fret, to where you want your saddle to be. And so that's what you do, is you get your ruler or your yardstick, and if this is a 23-inch scale neck, you just find the 23-inch mark and you put that, because that's going to be your saddle. You're going to put that on your box where you want your saddle. Keeping in mind, the back side of it, are going to have a hinge, you're going to have a string catch of some sort. You got to keep that in mind, because you're going to want to have a proper string distance on the back side before it hits the saddle. Once it launches over the saddle, it's going to come up all the way up to where your nut is. So that determines the length of your neck wood, because you're going to want to have a headstock. So what I do is I put my template on my fretboard material, and again, you can get these at big box store. This one here happens to be a 1/4 inch by 1.5 inch by 24 inches. You just cut it down to size, whatever size you want. I'm going to use the size of the 23 inch. And that's going to determine how many frets I'm going to have, because I want to have at least 4 inches of headstock up here at the top. So this is the way it looks. I got 4 inches of headstock. Then the beginning of my fretboard, which is going to be 23 inches, 23-inch scale. So that's going to take me all the way up to here. So I just put this on my box where I want my saddle, and that tells me exactly where to cut this off and where to cut off on my heel, because I'm going to want the heel to poke out just underneath the fretboard on the outside of the box. Okay guys, I can't tell you how important this step is. This is the most important step of the whole process right here. The dry layout, making sure everything is aligned exactly how you want it. Okay? That is the dry layout. Oh yeah, also, I also put in place my tuners. I also put in place my pickups. I'm gonna have a humbucker in the neck position, and I got a piezo around here somewhere floating around. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? A piezo. So this is all part of the dry layout. I got my wire. Got my wire up here. Plenty of wire. Soldering iron. Tools. Saws. Shantus. Sandpapers. Rulers. Magic markers. All right, off to the build. Let's build this thing. Here's the box. This is a two-back box. These are solid box. You can see how thick they are. Thick-walled box. So, the sound holes here are just these little screen mesh, little rivet style. So you just drill out. In this case here, I opted for the top and the bottom because I didn't want to interfere with that little guy there. So that's part of the design there. Typically, you put your sound holes on this side here, kind of symmetrically up and down here, but on this one here I opted for this one here. Again, I'm being artistic here. Kind of got the theme going here, all four corners. I got something going on here. The switch is over here, volume control, sound holes, a little logo. The jack here, because this is a thick walled box, look how thick that wall is. I'm having to go with a thicker or a longer shaft. Now I am going to have to take some of the material out here with a Fosner bit, just so I can get this jack to go through that wood right there. Potentiometer, typical potentiometer for the top here. And all you do is you just find the right drill that matches the shaft of these things. The switch as well. You just find the right size drill that matches your shaft. And then also placement, where I determined where we wanted the saddle. That's where your hand's going to be the majority of the time. Where do you want that switch in relationship and the volume control, right? So you're going to be, you're going to be playing. And again, where do you want the switch in the volume control? All right, off to the neck. All right, the neck. This here this is where the magic happens, guys. The neck. Okay, so the first things first is you're going to get yourself some glue, some good glue, and determine, again, we determined where the heel is going to go, and then we're just going to, what I call, you can glue it and screw it. You glue it and then you just screw it in, or you can glue it and clamp it. It's up to you. I prefer all of the above methods, right? You got to just keep in mind whenever you do clamp it that you want to clean out the glue spillage, and you want to make sure it's perfectly aligned, because it's going to want to have a tendency to shift on you, right? So just to avoid a bunch of unnecessary sanding, just make sure that it's nice and exactly where you want it when you glue it. Obviously that makes sense, right? And then, like I said, it doesn't matter here because you're going to cut this off to match your box later. After that, then you're going to glue your slotted, and I'm not going to go into in this video, but the fret slotting, I got videos that cover that. So we're going to slot our fret board material, and then same thing, we're going to glue that onto here. So this is glue drying. Once that glue is dry, then you're going to put your slotted fretboard on exactly where you want it, and then let its glue dry as well. And that's going to tell you exactly, in this case here, I don't have this one cut down to size, but that's going to tell you exactly where the end of the fretboard is. Now this is where it's going to get good, guys, because that's where we're going to start removing material. We're going to remove material here And this is going to be the thickness of the cigar box guitar top. So this one here is a thick one, right? So that's going to be about almost 1/4 of an inch right here, right? And we're going to increase this material as we go back. It's going to go from, like, say, 1/4 inch here back to about 3/8 of an inch here. That creates what they call a back angle. You don't have to do this. It's just something that I like to incorporate into my builds. It gives you higher action on your right hand over here at the saddle. Kind of gives you more of a slant, ever so subtle slant on your strings to the fretboard, which just it's just a feel thing for me. Fender guitars don't have that, but Gibson guitars do. So once you do that, then we can also do other things. After we put it all together, we'll install our frets. Now I have videos that go into depth on all the fret placement and filing and aesthetic, but I did want to point out some things here. That the thickness here, you can see that there's a saw blade thickness from the top of this guy here and the thickness of the neck underneath this fretboard. Can you see that? I actually got it kind of angled here from the saw. The saw was coming in here, and so this here is the thickness of the original. This is the thickness, a little bit thinner, the thickness of a saw blade. And the reason why I do that is just so that the tuners will get through with the right amount of. Okay, if this is too thick, then you don't have room to wrap your string over here. So I go for a little bit thinner here than the standard, only by the thickness of the saw. Again, I take care to make sure that these edges are nice and smooth, whether by file or by sandpaper, but definitely by putting that glue in the fretboard on the exact right spot when I glue it, wiping away the extra. In this case here, this you can see where I cut out for the back angle right here. The thickness, this case here, the thickness of the top of this cigar box. The thickness of the top of this cigar box, you can see it right there. That is the exact thickness that I took off right here. Now this becomes my ledge. This is going to hold or support the cigar box guitar top here. And this is going to be where I've notched out to support the thickness of the neck position pickup. Notice how I have the strings coming across here. It's going to be underneath ever so slightly. And then it's going to come down to the piezo, which is just drilled with a Fosner bit right underneath the saddle, and that'll be hot glued in. Those pickups, after they're mounted in the neck or the box, will be wired into the potentiometer, or into the switch, and then the potentiometer, and then from the potentiometer to the jack, which hasn't been installed yet. So I will do that next, as well as install the tuners. So when installing the tuners, a couple of things to keep in mind. I like to put a little piece of wood underneath it, which is the exact same height as the heel there. That way this is like straight up and down. There's no angle to it, right? It's not like an angle like this when I'm drilling, because I'm going to be drilling straight up and down. Now I could use my drill press if I like, but I just freehand this guy. As long as you're straight up and down, you should be good. Now what I do is I get my head, my eyes straight up and down over this thing here, and I'm looking and I'm imagining the string coming across, and I want straight string pull. In other words, as the string comes up over the 0 fret or your nut, you don't want it to have a bend, right? You want it to go straight. So I want it to go straight right to the tuning shaft. So that tells me exactly where the center of the shaft is, and that's going to be the center of my drill hole. Just like that. And just like that, the tuners are installed. Now, keep in mind, the string's gonna come up, and this thing here is gonna wrap on this side. The string's gonna come up, and then wrap on the inside. And on this one here, the string's gonna come up and wrap on the outside. That's gonna give me straight string pull on the back side of this 0 fret. Now, if it wasn't exactly right, you could always dowel these things out and re-drill them, but take the time to be precise with this, because you're not going to want to mess that up. The other thing too is keep in mind these are right-handed, these are the left-handed, right? The right-handed is this one here, the left-handed is the bottom side typically. You want to have the gears on the downside toward your cigar box, and the reason being is because the string is going to pull this way, which means that gear is going to get smashed into the worm gear on the tuner. So as the string pulls down this way, it's pulling up this way, so it's like that, right? So it smashes these gears together. And I'm telling you that really makes a big difference, because if you're going the other way around, as the string pulls down, it's going to open up those gears and cause failures. So it's important to get the right side on the top if you're right-handed, or the left on the left top if you're left-handed, or on the bottom if you're right-handed. Again, the gears go toward, the gear that goes to the shaft goes to the bottom side toward your cigar box. I hope that makes sense. One thing that I always do is I always block the corners. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is just so that the top can have something to screw into down here. Now these are glued into the corners. And I also, whenever possible, give this guy some support underneath here. Now you'll notice that these are not the same height. This is a little shallower than this is a little taller on this side. And that is to accommodate for the back angle. Remember, we took off more material on the back side than we did on the front side, so that stands to reason that we're going to need. So again, you want that thing to be just tight right up on the bottom side of this. So when it closes, there is no wiggle room. It's just nice and tight. So that's going to take some finesse to figure that out, right? A lot of trial and error with different gaps. Sometimes you get lucky. This case here, it turned out to be perfect. In other words, this is like so tight. But I'm going to screw it right here, and then the hinge is going to be screwed in here, and then also through the block on the back side. So this is going to be one solid. And I do that first. I screw in the neck to the box first before I put in the pickups. So we screwed the neck into the blocks. I also cut out the hole for the pickup by measuring twice and cutting once. And we also installed the jack. I also like to put position markers up here, so I'm going to go with the solder burns. Solder burns work really good when you have light colored wood. Just like that. Man, that cricket is just going to town, man. So we got the pickups installed, the humbucker, the piezo, got them all wired up. So next we are going to install the hinge and the ground wire, the saddle, And then we'll string it up. We will intonate it, tune it up, intonate it, tune it up, intonate it, and then we will tear it up. Today is the next day, and it's hot. I'm going to show you that here. But I did work last night, and I got this thing all ready to button up. I wanted to show you the insides first. But real quick, I just wanted to show you the temperature, and then a few little memes here. You can see, guys, I am not lying. I am not lying. It is hot. It's global warming. This is what it looks like outside. Here's the final peek before we button it up. So I do have the hinge holes drilled, and I have the ground wire ready to go in there. But I just wanted to show everybody real quick the tidiness inside of here. Awesome solder job. How we attach the humbucker to the neck. Yep, this is it, guys. So let me attach the ground wire, and we're off to the races. One of the final steps is the saddle. So I have a whole bunch of these blocks that I just kind of mocked up here, all about the same average height from what I use. And then what I'll do is I'll select one that is probably going to be about the right height. And what I do here again is I put my ruler here on the 0 fret, because that's going to be the string, and then I set it on this side on the saddle, and then I measure right here what the string height is going to be. Now I can adjust this by sanding the bottom of the saddle down if I need to go lower. If I need to go higher, I'll just grab another one. Rather than shim it, I'll just grab another one. But you can see there the action is going to be pretty good. Pretty good. All right, so we're going to string it up now. The saddles are actually pretty easy to make. Right, just get yourself some wood, and I like to carve a little angle here. You can get all fancy and concave and whoop-de-doo-ish. Seriously, you can get all creative. But then what I do is I file these edges down here to kind of get this round over edge here, and then put a fret. If you need to cut a little slot for your fret, however you want to do that, bang a fret in there. And then what I like to do is either paint them or stain them, whatever you want to do to creatively tie it in to your build. It's entirely up to you. I also get my strings at cbgitty.com. And as you know, I like to tune EBE. The low string is 0.044, the middle string is 0.034, and the high string is 0.026, and they're all wound. One of the nice things about these strings is it has these little holes in the ball end, so you can get your little finishing nail, and as long as you get them in the right order, thickest to thinnest, and then they go right inside the little hinge. I'll show you how to do that. You just route the strings through the hinge, and then pull them tight. Just like that. Strings on. We are roughly intonated, and I am tuned E, B, E. I love it, man, when you just set it up, tune it up, and tear it up. Oh my gosh. All right, let me just play around with some sounds here. Turn up the reverb, turn up the volume, turn down the gain. Oh yeah. All right, guys, so real quick, I wanted to wrap this up. I wanted to go over some of these notes, okay? So if you were taking notes, good on you. Good on you, mate. Too right. Good on you, mate. All right, so this is what we're gonna do here. I'm just gonna do a little review. So if you have your notes and you want to continue editing or adding to your notes, to your checklist. Okay, so we started off with the ideas. You need to have some basic idea before you even get started. You're gonna need to be creative. The reason being is because obviously there's tons of possibilities sky is the limit. A lot of times what I like to do is I like to let the box and the materials kind of dictate or kind of lead the way, so to speak. In other words, I kind of let the materials and the process kind of speak to me, so to speak. So get your creative juices going, get your ideas flowing, and then we're going to start incorporating with our ideas the design element. We're going to start giving some ideas, some design work as well. And this is where you're going to make the decisions. Is it going to be an acoustic? Is it going to be electric? Is it going to be fretless? Is it going to be a slide guitar? Am I going to have a nut? Am I going to have a zero fret? Am I going to have what kind of pickups am I going to have? All of that stuff needs to be creative into your design, as well as the scale length of the instrument, and whatever else you think is important, because this is where you need to decide what's important, what's not important, what's necessary, what's unnecessary, what you like to see aesthetically. You know, is it going to be a piece of art, or is it going to be a giggable, recordable, tourable, intonatable, playable instrument? Because there is a difference. Now, like I said, it can be both, and I recommend going for broke. And then we assembled all of our materials, and this is where you need to kind of put together a materials list. So write down everything you can possibly think of, all the materials that you'll need, not including tools, because that's a separate list. So on your materials list, you're going to have tuners, fret wires, electronics, whether it's the pickups, the single coil versus the humbucker, the piezo. You're going to need some wire. You're going to need the potentiometer if you're going to have a volume control. You're going to need the input jack if you're going to be plugging it in. You're going to need a switch if you're going to have different switches. Don't forget, I get all of my parts at the cbgitty.com. You can use the affiliate link in the description below for discounts and promo codes, and there's an affiliate link. All you got to do is click on that link. It'll open up the web browser. You just search, pick whatever you want, add it to your cart, use my promo code at your checkout for discounts. And then you're going to decide, are you going to want hinge? How are you going to do your connect? Are you going to do a nail? Are you going to do hooks? Are you going to do springs on the inside? What kind of sound holes you're going to do? Yeah, so what kind of position markers you're going to do? All of this stuff here is you're going to need to keep in mind. Not just that, but also the strings. Are you going to have strap buttons? You know, where are you going to put your strap buttons? That's all part of the materials. Also your wood. Where are you going to get the wood? I like to get my wood at the cbgitty.com, but I also get it also at the the big box stores, the Home Depot and the Lowe's, and I also search high and low for anything from pallets to old fence posts, seriously, you can find wood anywhere, and I got lots of wood, guys. And then after you have all of your materials, we are going to do the mock-up or the dry layout. And again, like I said, I've stressed it over and over and over again. I can't overstress this enough. That is the most important aspect of building the guitar. Laying everything out, measuring twice, measuring 3 times, measuring 4 times if you need to, making sure you have all of your components necessary. And then we can talk about the tools if you want. What kind of tools do you feel are necessary? I have jigs for the fretting saws, I have saws, sandpaper, files, glue, screws. Obviously we have and you know what I like to do, right? I like to torment the dog. So, guys, I want to encourage you to, if you're even remotely thinking about building yourself a cigar box guitar, I say do it. Do it. It won't be perfect. I've built over 400 and some odd plus of these things. I have yet to build a perfect cigar box guitar, but therein lies the magic, is that they are not perfect. If you want something perfect, you got to go to the store and buy it from Made in China, and then you'll get something that's perfect. But if you want something that's made in America, Where's my, oh wait, where is that? Where is my junk? Oh yeah, here, check this out. If you want something made in America, then chances are it's not gonna be perfect. But that's perfect. That's perfect. Guys, I am roasting hot. Oh my gosh. Templates. Templates are important. I have many templates. And this is also another good little template here. This is like your notch template. I use it for centering my sound holes, for notching. I also use it for my string spacing. Fretting templates, you can get these any size you want. All the way down to like a 14-inch little mandolin, all the way up to a 30-inch bass. But you gotta have a template. All right guys, I've bored you enough. If you've stuck around to this part of the video, you are an official cigar box guitar enthusiast. All right guys, I'm gonna go cool off because I'm roasting. All right guys, we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.